Welcome to the QA Advantage video training series. My name is David Verbick, one of the software developers at QA Support. The topic I will be covering in this video is the general overview of features contained in the QA Advantage Data Editor. The QA Advantage Data Editor application provides powerful tools to review, edit, and document data collected by the data acquisition handling system. It displays data values and associated indicators graphically in the form of a time-driven data chart that users can filter to quickly locate data events that may need attention. Let's take a look at an overview of the data editor features. The first screen you see when you open the QA Advantage Data Editor is the Select Tag screen. From here you can select the data type you wish to edit, the enterprise site and unit of the facility, and finally the tag or data point that you wish to edit. The first step is to set the data type to retrieve for reviewing or editing. The drop-down list shows all of the data types that the application currently supports. For this training session, I will select 1-minute data. Please note at this time that I'm using test data for a non-existent plant. The data points and values will be different for your facility. The enterprise and site values will be populated automatically based upon the installation of your QA Advantage tools. You will, however, be required to select the unit if your facility has more than one unit tied to the QA Advantage tools. For this demo, I will select Unit 101. Once I select a unit, the application retrieves all of the data points available and populates the tag drop-down list. When I click the tag drop-down list, you see a list of all the tags for Enterprise 0, Site 0, Unit 101 for 1-minute data. For this demo, I will select CO High ppm to view. Once I click the Load Data button, the application will retrieve the 1-minute data for the CO High ppm tag. There's a lot of information presented on the data editor, so let's take one step at a time and view all of the features and tools at your disposal. Starting at the top of the form, you have a toolbar that displays both tools and information. The first tool on the toolbar is the Tags tool. Clicking this button will bring up the Select Tags form that we just looked at. You can use this tool when you want to switch between editing sessions without restarting the application. For example, you may wish to review 1-minute data for CO High ppm, but then you'd like to see the NOx High ppm value. Clicking this button will allow you to make that switch to a different tag. The next button is the Edit button. This button will open up an editor screen specifically designed for the data type you are reviewing. If you recall, on the Select Tags form, you had a choice of data types, like 1-minute data or constants. The editor you see when clicking this button is determined based upon the data type you selected on the first form. The third tool button is the Note tool. This allows a user to document data events relating to a particular tag that pertain to a time period. The fourth button relates to highlighting a time frame on the data chart. This Clear button clears the highlighting that a user may set. There's more information on this later. The Print button prints the visible section of the data chart. And finally, the Info button shows details relating to the application and how it's installed. When you select a data type other than constants, you will see a date range. When the main form loads after selecting a tag to review, the date range is set to midnight of the current day and extends to the current time. This is the default, but you can change those if you desire. Be aware that you cannot pick a time frame greater than 30 days for 1 minute data. The data selectors give you a number of ways to select a date. Let's take a look at that date time selector a little closer. There are a number of ways to edit dates and times using this selector. One simple way would be to highlight and type in a new month or date or year. It works the same. Or you can click on a date and use the up and down arrows to scroll through to the date you want. Same thing works for year, works for minutes, works for hours. You can also use the standard calendar control where the calendar shows up and you can pick any date you want and scroll through years and months this way. The time can also be adjusted by setting the hour. You could type in an hour. Or you can select an hour from this drop-down list and enter your minutes. And to close this up with the new value, you just simply click that button there. This works on both of these controls and throughout the application. The green circular arrow after the to-do date selector is the refresh button. If you change the date range, the refresh button will highlight in green. Once you press the refresh button, the application will retrieve the data for the date range you set. The drop-down list next to the refresh button is the time frame list that allows you to search through time frames in large blocks. For example, I can select the today selection and it will show all of the data from midnight to the current time. The drop-down list will now show the exact time frame that the editor is displaying. These blocks of time are there to help you search for data. Next, let's talk about overlay statuses. Each tag data value collected by the data acquisition handling system has up to 32 associated status indicators. These statuses help determine data validity and quality at the time of data collection. Please note that not all status indicators shown in the drop-down will be applicable to your installation. As you select a status indicator from the list, the data chart will overlay a blue highlight whenever that status is active. As I select in Cal, for example, right here, note the blue highlighting on the data chart. Now watch as I switch over to overrange. Here. These blue sections represent time frames when the CO analyzer was reporting an overrange condition. The Show All Status checkbox is a feature used to quickly find data that has a data event. A data event is defined as some non-typical situation that occurred during data collection, such as a monitor fault, in calibration, or maybe calibration drift. As you've seen with overlay statuses, the data acquisition handling system tracks a large number of status indicators with every data value captured. Given that level of detail, it's often time-consuming to look for status indicator types one at a time. Show All Status enables a new chart line that combines all status indicators together to quickly identify a data event. In this case, if I click on Show All Statuses, it is immediately obvious that this tag is experiencing a surprising level of status changes in a short period of time. In addition to using overlay statuses as a means for identifying the cause, we'll cover a data chart hover technique later in this video to understand data events that involve multiple status indicators. Below the toolbar is a title depicting the name of the tag you're currently reviewing. This title is set based upon the tag you selected in the Select Tag form. The tag listing is here to keep you aware of what tag and data you're reviewing. graphical display of the data shows all of the data points for the data range you selected. When your cursor hovers over a data point, you get a pop-up window that displays detailed information about the specific data point, showing you the exact time of the 1-minute data, the value of the data point, and statuses of the data point that were active at the moment the data point was collected. Below the graph is the Data Navigator. It contains a viewing window that you can move across the entire data range. If you have selected multiple days to review, then this Data Navigator will highlight full days in alternating colors so you can quickly scroll to the time frames of interest. In addition to moving across the data range, you can change your viewing size by clicking on either side of the Data Navigator's view window box and resizing the box like this. So remember, the Data Navigator directly affects what you see in the graph. Notice that the width of the view window in the Data Navigator exactly corresponds to what time frames I see in the data chart. If I set the view window to cover a specific day, I will only see that day displayed in the data chart, like this. There's another way to control what you see in the graph. Let's set the Data Navigator at a place that looks interesting on the graph. Now move the cursor to hover over the graph. Now use your scroll wheel on your mouse to either shrink or expand the data range you're looking at. Notice that at the same time you're scrolling on the graph, the Data Navigator view window is resizing based upon the direction of your scrolling with the mouse wheel. The graph and the Data Navigator give you the ability to look at any area of interest in great detail. For the purpose of data editing, you can highlight the graph to define an area or data points you wish to edit. To highlight a specific area on the graph, move your cursor over the graph. Click the left mouse button once to start the highlight, then move your cursor to where you wish to end the highlight and click the left mouse button once more. You now have highlighted a section of data that you can edit. To remove a highlight, simply click the Clear button on the toolbar, or you can move your cursor to anywhere on the graph and click your right mouse button. A menu pops up and you can select the Clear Date Highlight option. The use of highlighted ranges and detailed data editing are covered in different video training sessions. Please refer to QA Advantage video series to locate training on editing data with the QA Advantage Data Editor. This is the end of the overview of the Data Editor. Thank you for your time.